All right, guys. Good day. So this is gonna be a full-fledged tutorial about everything I've been teaching you guys starting from day one. So we're going to literally be going into Cinema 4D, and then I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to touch how to create a simple object like cubes. You touch how you can convert this simple object to advanced objects. How you can use some of the tools that we have readily accessible in Cinema 4D. How you can render your design. You can texture your design. At the same time, also let's say how you can light them, because light is very important and is paramount. We are going to be touching some of the light types we have, how to use them, how to create our shadows, our light, realistic lighting system in Cinema 4D, and some other stuff. So without further ado, let us step directly into it. So literally, the first step is you opening Cinema 4D, and I know we all know how to do that. So now, when you open Cinema 4D, this is what you're gonna see. You're going to see a window like this, and this window is literally going to be the first thing you see. So aside that, what else? This my boy Cinema 4D might bring out a pop-up menu about joining some maybe community or something. You can actually disallow that. It's not important and it's not necessary. So having said that, let's dive into this thing. So we have our toolbar. Our toolbar group of tools that we use. We have some here, and then we have some of them here also. So just like a normal worker, you can do things without your tools, and then we need to know how to use these tools before we can do anything. Now, literally, I've taught you guys in class, but if you move your mouse to anything in Cinema 4D, it's going to bring out a pop-up menu. This pop-up menu is, going to tell you what that thing is used for in particular. So this is the live selection tool. And then left selection tool, if you click and hold, you have some other tools like the polygon selection, the lasso selection, the rectangle selection, and the live selection itself. So this is the move tool. We use this to move around, scale, rotate, and this particular thing will tell you this tool that you've selected, or the ones you've selected already. So it's kind of like an history of the tools that you've selected. So I'm going to get into that very shortly. And these are the axis lock, y-axis lock or unlock, and the same with y, the same with z, the same with x. This is the coordinate system. The coordinate system can be changed to object or to word depending on what you actually want to move. We spoke about this some time ago. I'm going to go into this also, and some other things I'm going to touch too. This is the render view. We use this to render what you just designed, so you can see them before you actually render them out. To render it out, you have the render to picture viewer, and there are also some things in this render to picture viewer that you can actually put in place. The only thing we spoke about was render to picture viewer in class. We've not been able to take the render all text to PV, render region, make preview, add to render queue, and interactive render region. There are a lot of things you can do with this, but I will just focus on render to picture viewer for now, and maybe we might talk about the render region too, just in case. So this is the cube, add to cube object. So what we use to add objects to our scene, to our world. If I click on all these, I have different shapes that I can actually add by just a click. We're going to get there very shortly. This is a pen tool, and it's called the vertex drawing. So this vertex drawing is what we use in drawing splines, and these splines can be edited, and we can use some effects on them that will bring them out and give us a kind of like a very beautiful design. So we touch that too. Over here we have some what is it called now, some other effects like subdivision surfaces that is used to smoothen the surface of our object. We have the extrude. The extrude is used for splines, and then in in combination with splines, it will give you something really nice. You have the loft, also we use that with splines, the latte, the sweep, and the bezel. We use all these with splines, and they're actually very nice and very good. So at the same time, also we have the array, and then we have the atom array, bowl. These things are used in editing shapes or to actually come up with something very really very nice. You have the connect, you have the instances, the metaball, the symmetry, and some other things like that. Even have a Python generator. So we have a lot of things that we can actually get to do. Then this, lastly, it's the let me call the annex of all the effects. Though when you want to do something very special with your designs, you come here, the bend, the twist, melt, the name it. We have a lot of things here. Combining all of these things together will actually give us something very strong and something really really beautiful. So over here we have our floor, we have our sky environment, foreground, background, we have physical sky, we have our stage. These things are used, in creating our environments to make sure our environments are actually looking good before we actually, go into animation, or basically before we finish our designs. And so far so good. We have a camera system, so camera, target camera, stereo camera, motion camera, and camera crane. This camera are used in different ways, and then we're going to go into them and get them done. Now there's something we could have done, but I'm still looking at it, a possibility. Maybe we'll be able to do it, or maybe we will not be able to. I'm not really sure. It's to use the motion camera. This motion camera can be synced with softwares like After Effects, and we can use that in visual effects and get some nice things done there. So that's that. And then the other thing, now we have a lighting systems. After creating everything, you need your light, and we have some types of light here. We have the sunlight, the PBR, we have the infinite light, IES, target light, area light, spotlight, and light itself. So we are going to be using all of these, or some of them, in this tutorial to create something really nice. So I've touched this. Let's come here. Now over here we have our model. Okay, we're going to be using them. I'm going to use all these so that you know what they are used for, and so that you'll be able to use them on your own. So let's move on. Now literally the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and create a cube. So I'm going to create a cube by just clicking. So I created a cube. Now once I create a cube, normally we are going to have 3 dots around. These particular arrows denote the y-axis, the x, and the z-axis. So this is the y-axis, this is the x-axis, and this is the z-axis. Now, unlike 2D, when we only have 2 orientations, we have our y and we have our x. In 3D, we will have our z too, because our z is depth. So the depth is really 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 important, and that is why we have this particular blue arrow. So these 3 dots can be moved around like so. And just to move this, you'll be able to scale your object on the y-axis, to scale your object here on the z-axis, be able to scale your object here on the x-axis. So different ways of scaling objects, and different objects have their own scaling. So I delete this now, and then literally maybe I just come here and then I click on my polygon. Polygon has 2 dots. So all of them have different dots around them that you can use in scaling them in a particular direction. So I'm going to create one more, let's say the cone, and this cone also has 2. This for the height, and then this is for the base, which is the width. So different types depending on the object type that you have, you can use, there are different types of stuff you can use on them. So now, having that being said, let's move on into another thing. So I'm going to create my cube again, and then this time around what I'm going to do is that I'm going to make this editable, and then making this editable literally means that I will lose my dots here, and I will not be able to scale them properly anymore. So once I click on make editable, my dot disappears. At the same time also, which literally means that I can scale them on each side without using the scale tool, and this will push me to using the scale tool. Click on the scale tool, you can see the icons has changed, and then I can just move this around like so, being able to scale them up and down. But the issue is that, practically there are no issues. Making an object editable gives you more options than not making it editable. But you just have to be very careful when you do that, because once you do that, it's actually very difficult to now remove the make editable function and then do some other things. So before you make anything editable, make sure you know what you're doing, and that is what you need at that moment or at a particular time. So that's all about that. So you can make any object editable. The same way I've made this cube editable, you can make some other shapes also, can make them editable, and they are going to come out really well and really fine. So that's that. So now moving on. Okay, no, there's no need creating any other thing. So let's just dive into creating something very simple. So I'm just going to literally, now I'm going to create a table. Okay, this is my move tool. Let's use this. Move around, move around, move around, move around, move around. All right, this is my rotate tool. Use this to rotate around. All right, like so. Not, you can rotate like this. All right, you can rotate like this. You can rotate like this. It's called a rotate tool for a reason. Trially means that you can just use it in rotating your object around the world. Okay, I'm going to delete that. I'm going to create another one. And then now look at, I've clicked on some of these tools. I've clicked on the move tool, the scale tool, and the rotate tool. Now this is the history. I have my rotate tool. If I right click on this, you can see the tools I've clicked on already and I've used. So I have them here. So instead of me going back, I can just come and select them, because some tools are actually hidden. So once I use those tools, they go back into I don't know where they came from. So instead of me going and looking for them and searching for them all over the place, I can just click on them here, and use them again. So this serves as kind of like a history, and it's actually very nice. Now that about that. Now some other thing I actually want to talk about is your view. Now the world, you can move your world around by using these arrows over here. Okay, you can just move around like this, like to the right, to the left, up and down with this particular one. And for this, you can zoom out really well, and then you can zoom in really well. In fact, entering into the box, yeah, you can. So, and then this is used to rotate your world around and move your world around, the corner. The last one is used to change views. Now there are different views. This is my 4D episodes, in changing different views. You have the top view, the front view, and the right view. Now these views are actually used in aligning your objects properly. If you use this view to align your object properly, you are going to get a better design, and then your how can I put it now? Your design is going to align properly, and it's going to look very professional. So I always encourage you to use this view, because it helps a lot. It speed up your work, and at the same time also, your design will come out well if you use them. So that's that. So to enter into any view, you just click on the other side, the same thing, and then you enter into the view, and you can edit what you want to edit here. And also the same thing, enter into this, and then enter into this, and then get out again, and then enter into my perspective view. So we're going to touch that very soon, and then we're going to learn how to use that. Now before I am moving into creating a table, because I'm going to create a table first, and I'm going to move into more advanced objects, and now you can actually use the advanced object. I'm not going to create anything per se in this tutorial, but I'm going to show you your tools and how to actually use them, show you the 3-dimensional lighting system, and how to actually put your render properly so that you can get a very good result. And then at the same time, I'm going to teach you how to use some other tools like the bend tool. I'm going to use U-Bowl, subdivision surfaces, and then we're going to use some other things on MoGraph test, MoGraph cloner. I'm going to use that. We're going to be able to harness the world of our physical sky, and we're going to be able to animate some objects. We animate colors. I'm going to animate lights. I'm going to animate the camera systems, and then I'm going to animate some objects too. So I think I've mentioned that already. Anyways, so I'm going to animate some things. Okay, use some advanced effects so that you can see them, so that you can know them, and then so that you can be able to use them on your own. So where by the time you need them, you're able to go back to this tutorial and watch, and you'll be able to see what I've just done. So that's gonna be it. All right, so now let's quickly move on. So I'm going to go back to my move tool. I'm going to make this guy editable over here so that I can use these tools here. Now I'm going to click on the first thing I want to use this, and this is the point tool. This point tool actually lets you edit points on your shapes. If I drag this now, clicking on any point here, I can drag this and I can morph this and change it to whatever it is I want it to be. Now you can see this is not more a cube or perfect cube, and put it that way. It's kind of looking somehow. So now because I edited the point, because I moved the point around, it actually altered the shape of that particular cube. So that is what the point is used for. You just click, not to deform, you use to create some shapes. when you want to create them. So just click on this, and then I've been able to do that. So now that's about, I'm going to undo that. I'm going to click on my line instead. Okay, this is my edges. So if I click on this, all right, I'll be able to edit the edges. Can you see, like so? You can click, not just that alone. I can do the same thing with these two. Can do the same thing with these two. You know, I'll be able to create. I'll be able to click on each edge and move the edge around. So this is used to just move edge around, you know, depending on your need. That's how you get that done. And then the other one is a surface. The surface is actually very cute. Also, you can use it to scale things around and to move things around and all of that. So now, in fact, you can even delete a particular surface if you want, and then that way you have a hole inside your shape, like, you know, having kind of like an open box or something like that. So different ways you can delete the points also if you want to delete them. So if I go back to points now and I click on this point and I click on delete, because it has deleted the point. So let's do the same thing with the line segment too. I delete this also. So you can delete, you can add back depending on what you want. This will actually help you a great deal. Now we're going to get into that very shortly, but that is how you use all of these tools in editing your stuff. So that's the basic introduction. Now once I start creating things, now I will be going into them and I'll be using them. So that's just a quick introduction to show you how to get to that particular part of your design. Now I'm just going to click on this cube and I'm going to delete this cube. First I want to create a table, very nice table at that. So now I'm on my edge too, but so my dots are not showing. I've not made this guy editable yet, so my dots are supposed to show, but I'm on my edge too. If you're on your edge too, or you're on this guy, the point, or you're on your polygon or whatever, your dots won't show. So the next thing you want to do, you have to go back to your model and click on model. Once you click on model, your dots will show again and you can start editing from there. I'm going to create a very simple table now. Okay, I'm just going to scale down a little bit, or zoom up a little bit, and then all of that. Now the other thing I want to mention to you is that whatever you create in your Word, you see them here. All right, and whatever you select in your Word, you see the attributes here, which means that you can actually edit some other stuffs here, and you don't need to just edit everything here. There's so many functions here also that can be changed and you can tweak around. So these are the attributes panel, and this particular place is where you find your objects panel. You know, whatever it is you create, you find them here. So that you can call this the properties panel too. You can change the properties and some other things also. So this is the coordinates panel. This coordinate panel is used it's just a matter, you can change the size there, change the position, you can change the rotation size, everything. Yeah, and this particular guy over here is used for animation and to play things in real time, in your world. We're going to get there very shortly, but let's focus on this guy. Now I've created this flat surface first and it's looking good. So now the first thing I want to do, in the real world, nothing is really sharp. You get, except maybe even Cutlass has a little bit of how can I put it, edge on its surface. That's why you have to keep filing it to make sure that it's extremely sharp so that you can use it for whatever it is you want to use it for. We have sharp objects in the real world, but you try really some objects are not sharp. So we want to make some edges smooth, so we need to use the fillet. The fillet is used to make your edges of stuff smooth. If I click on my fillet now, you can see that's smoothing this surface, but that's not what I want. So it's too smooth. So I'm just going to reduce the fillet radius a little bit so that I have smooth edge here. I'm just going to drop this down a little bit. This is 1 cm. I don't want 1 cm. So I'm just going to type. I want 0.2, which is 0.2, and then that is good. So I have this guy already. Now the next thing I want to start creating, maybe I want to create the leg of my table, or maybe I'll just create the other side of table here. This carpenter people used to put something here like this before this, now add the legs and all of that. Let's say that's what I want to create right now. I don't need to create a cube anymore, so I'm just going to duplicate this, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, and then scale this down a little bit, and then scale this down a little bit, and then now increase the thickness a little bit. Just going to bring this guy down like this. So if I rotate now, you can see I have this guy already, but there's no hole over here, it's thick. So now, which takes me to the use of a particular tool named the bow. Now the bowl is very important. We are going to use it a lot, to cut shapes inside and all of that, so that we'll be able to get the shapes that we want. So I'm just going to click on my cube, which is cube 1. The first cube I created was this. When the moment I duplicated this, I have my cube 1. So I'm going to click on my cube 1. I'm going to say Control C, Control V. There are other ways to copy, which I'm going to talk about very soon. I'm going to bring this guy a little bit like this, a little bit like this, and I'm going to make sure it's thicker than my first one, like so. So if I go down a little bit and see what I have, like kind of like a 3-dimensional stuff. Okay, sorry, 3 steps or something. So now I'm just going to use this guy to cut this guy out. So for me to do that, I'm just going to use my bow tool. Now where can I find my bow? My bow is around this side. It's under my array. So if I click and hold, I find the effect called bow. I'm going to click on my bow, and then I have now the first thing you do, you use your first object, which is your first cube, you place it on the bowl, and then now you click on the second one, and then you drag it. Once your arrow turns to the side this way, not this way, but this way, you just drop it. You drop it, and then boom, the magic happens. Can you see? Now it has already cut out the part that we want. So literally that way, all you just need to do, you can put our legs in them, and then boom, we're done. So now I've been able to create this. Now it's time for me to create my legs. And creating my legs, I don't need to create anything new again. I can just duplicate this particular guy like this, and then scale it down, and then scale this guy down to a little bit, to kind of like form my leg. But I can't do this here perfectly. There will be a lot of issues. So because of that, I'm just going to go into my views, and then I'm going to use my top view. I'm going to scale, and then I'm going to zoom in to my top view. Okay, then I can now adjust like this, and then bring this guy where I want it to be. So I want it to be here, so I'm going to bring it here, and then I'm going to see. Yeah, it's nice. All right, so now I'm going to go back to my perspective view. I want to see how the leg looks. Okay, it's not really bad, and I think it's nice. It's kind of like the right proportion. So I'm just going to go back. Now I'm going to go to my right side view or my front view. Let's use the front view. So that way I'll be able to adjust the height of this particular leg. So I'm just going to push this. I'm going to pull it down like so. All right. So now the legs, the height of the table is cool. Okay, I can maybe just reduce it a little bit, like so. So just bring it a little bit like this. So now I have the height of my table. It's really nice. Looking at it here. So I have only one leg out of 4. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to duplicate this over here, and I'm going to teach you how to copy the second way to copy. You hold Control, you click, and then you drag. So that way, I have my legs. I have my second leg, and I make sure that it's in sync properly. All right. This particular view will help you put things in order. So I'm going to click on the first leg, and I'm going to hold Shift, click on the second leg, and then I'm going to hold Control, and then I'll drag it down. So that way I've duplicated the 2 legs. So I'm going to check and see that they're okay, they're nice. So by the time I go back to my perspective view, boom, my table is done, and then I have a nice table for myself. So now literally you can see that using these tools and using them well, using your views properly, will actually help you, and then will speed up your work extremely. You understand? You have whatever it is you want to create as fast as you can. If I was not teaching, I would have finished this very fast, more than this. But because even though I was teaching, I'm able to create it in less than 5 minutes, and which is even too long. So this is how you create your table. The next thing you want to do is that since you've created all the layers of your table, remember to group them, remember to name it. So just select Shift, click on the last one, and then Alt G, which is used, and then I can now double click this, and I can just say table. So now I have my table, and that's that about that. So now moving on, we're going to touch some other things to get this guy done. All right, and then let's do this. Now the first thing we want to do is that we're going to create a new texture, and then we're going to texture our table. So which means that I'll have to just create a new texture. And where do I create the texture? I create the texture at this side in my Cinema 4D R19. So you just click on create. Okay, these are textures, you understand, but what I'm creating is a material, and material is a combination of textures, you know that already. So we have new material, and then I can name this wood because I want to use wood. All right, I'm just saying wood. I'm going to click on this, then double click on this particular thing. I have my color, I have diffusion, luminance, transparency. These are type of textures, and when combined together they give you a material. So because I want to create wood, in this example I'm not going to take long, so I'm just going to click on color. All right, and then I'm going to just go to now over here. Now to make sure that your material you are able to how can I put it now, to be sure that your material is actually good, and then that you are using the right coordinate, you can double click on, you can right click on this. All right, and then you can choose some other types. We have different types here. So because I'm using a cube, basically I can just choose cube. Now this will create a very small material for me, so I want to just choose the medium material, and then I want to right click on this and I want to choose the cube. So that way it's going to create a cube for me, and then instead of just having a sphere, I have a cube already. So now I can now go to my color. Under my color there's some textures that came with Cinema 4D. I'm going to move into all of these once in a while, you know, as I'm trying to adjust some things. We're not going to go into advanced material creation, but we will be able to. Okay, I don't think you can see what I've been doing since, so let me just bring this in there. So what I said is that once you create that, you have this pop-up menu, and then once you can right click on this, choose the medium, or you can choose huge, or you can choose large depending on the size. But you see, if you bring this guy here, it says resolution is 120 by 120. So now and then you can just come here and just select cube, rounded cube, which is something like this. So I'm just going to leave it on rounded cube, and then under my color, under texture, just drop down menu, go to surfaces, and then I can choose wood. That way I will have a wood texture. And then over here now I can just come to this side of reflectance, because I want this to reflect a little bit. I'll remove the default reflectance that is there, and I'm going to add my own. I'm going to add a GGX. Okay, GGX is actually very nice, and I'm going to drop this guy down a little bit, like so, maybe to around 5 or 4 or 3, depending on what I want to do. And I'm done with this. All right, I just want it to be smooth. I don't want to add any roughness. I don't want it to be transparent, and I don't want to add any alpha layer or something like that. So I'm just going to close this particular window. So I have my texture here called wood. So if I drag my texture and I put it on this guy, I will have it will apply it automatically, and I can now click and drag it to all of these guys if that is what I want to do. But if I want to give all these guys just one texture, what I'm going to do, just undo this, I'm going to click on this wood and I'm going to drag it on this particular group. The moment I do that, it's going to apply that particular texture to all of the objects that are in that group. So that way I have my table textured properly and it's very shiny, you know, and all of that. Now if I click render view now, you know, you can see my table is looking nice, and I have a very dark background, which is not supposed to be so. So we're going to get and dive into that right now, and then I'm going to introduce the three-dimensional lighting system before I move into the advanced part of this particular class. Now we want to light this guy. We want to make sure that our table is fine and all, we have a good background and stuff like that. Now to be able to do that, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my render settings over here, and I'm going to check on effect. I'm going to click on ambient occlusion. I'm going to check on effect again. I'm going to click on global illumination, and this particular guy will allow me render things in a different way. So if I click on my render to picture viewer now, it's going to render, but because there is no light in it, I have everything will be dark. The reason why it's not dark before is that Cinema 4D actually helped me in putting a light into this particular scene, so that at least I will be able to see something and everything will not just be dark. So but because I want this thing to look very good and nice, I need to put a light there, and this brings me to the types of light that we have. Now we have different types of light. We have this light, okay, which is actually the ambient light. We have the spotlight, we have the target light, we have the area light, IES, and the infinite light. Now let me talk about this light. This light is an ambient light. You put it here, it blows the entire place up, which means that you might actually need just one to light up the entire scene, but it will not give you the effect that you want it to give to you. It's an ambient light, so it's normal if you have it in your scene. So if I can just click on this now, the light is in my scene right now. Okay, and then if I try to render this, you see what is going to happen. Okay, I'm going to try to render this, and can you see? So I have an ambient light, and then it has filled my entire space up. I have my table. I can see my table. I can see some of the legs, and I can see some black spots and all of that. That's the work of an ambient light. Now if I bring it down now, it's going to light the base of that table. Can you see now? So I can't see anything above. So that's how the ambient light literally works. And then you can actually change it and move it around, like so. Like I started moving around. So now for everything, I told you that they have their attributes. So for air, light also has their attribute, and these are some of the general attribute that it has. So we have the intensity. Intensity shows how bright that light is, so you can reduce the intensity if you want to reduce the intensity. Okay, can even increase it more than 100%. You can just scroll. Can you see I'm increasing that more than 100%? And the light type here can be changed. This is an omni light, all right, and it serves as an ambient light, so you can change it to any other type of light that we already have inside Cinema 4D. So now we have the shadow. This is very, very good. This shadow is what we're going to use this shadow a lot, because it's going to make what's it called, realistic, and then it's going to make it look very, very nice. Now this is the visible light. Visible light shows the we use this to show the visibility of light, and also to be able to make them volumetric if we need them to be volumetric. Now, and then we have some other things here: the diffuse specular, GI illumination, show clipping, export to composition, and so many things that we can actually touch and we can change. We have the colors here also. You can change the color of the light. You can change it to blue if you want to change it to blue. I have my blue. If I change to red, see, changing it to red, the color is changing already. Can you see? So you can change it to any color you wish, but I'm just going to leave mine on white. You can change yours to any color. So also we have the details panel over here to actually go into more advanced steps. We can talk about this later, because we're going to be using all of this. This is dust. Okay, to put a little bit of dust in the scene so that it's not going to just look really smooth and everything. Photometric of the shadow systems, where we can actually reduce the shadow, change the color of the shadow and the transparency of the shadow and itself and everything. So we have the lens, we have the noise, and then we have the caustics. We have practically everything here. So they actually did a good job in making sure that these things are here, and then we can actually use them on our scenes so that we can have something very, very good and something very nice. So now I'm just going to move on. Now this is one of the lights that we have. Okay, it's called the ambient light. So let's just assume I have my ambient light in my scene, and I drop the intensity to around 60%, and then I want to add another light, but this time around I want to add my spotlight, and then we're going to see how the spotlight works. So I'm going to move this guy over here, and I move it here. Now, okay, I forgot. Now you can also rotate your light if you need to. So can you see now my spotlight is around this particular corner, and I'm shining it around this side. So which literally means that, and it has a dot of its own too, which can show the total travel distance of that particular light. So I'm just going to leave it like this. Now, so the light is coming from this particular side and is hitting the table from that side. Now, so if I zoom in now properly a little bit on my table, and then I just let me just come into my texture, and let me increase the reflectance a little bit, so it's more shiny, so that I can see the effect of the light very well. So now let's render this, and let's see what we have. Now can you see now the light is hitting the table from this particular direction. Now if I deactivate my ambient light and then I render this guy again, now you can see that it's more evident that the light is coming from this angle. It's coming from this angle, and that's the work of spotlight. You use spotlight but to hit a particular side in a particular angle, a particular spot, you understand, so that you have something very, very nice and realistic. Now we can actually move my spotlight, and let me just rotate my spotlight like so, all right, and let me just bring it like this, and just bring it here, all right, and then boom, see, I have it like this. Just bring this guy over here, and then let's reduce the width. Okay, so now I have this. Okay, now if I just zoom, if I do this and then I render this, you see what I'm going to have. Can you see? I can only see that part of the table and I cannot see the other part of the table, which literally means that this particular guy is focused on that side alone, and that is why it is called a spotlight. Spotlight, you focus on just one side and then they leave the other side. That's why we call them the spotlight. So now but the ambient light will cover everything and then make sure that you're seeing everything, because it's just like the sunlight. So now we are going to move on. The target light is used in animation and animating stuff. We're going to talk about that later. Now let's talk about the area light. The area lights, they're actually very good. I use them a lot, and they actually make your scene look very realistic. And the area light is called area because they cover a particular area, and you can actually use the you guys tweak them. You can see they're kind of like a in the box shape and everything, so they look more like the ambient light, but no, they don't travel far like the ambient light. They just cover a particular area, and then we use them a lot when we want to do anything that has to do with the three-dimensional lighting system. So now let me just deactivate my spot light over here and let's focus more on the ambient light. So now my red light is lighting up this particular part. Let's render this and see. So I render this, can you see? Now it covers all this part, but it covers that particular area that is actually shining towards. So now to do my three-dimensional lighting system, now with my area light, it shows that literally I'm going to have to light this guy from 3 different angles. So now if I click on my control, I move this guy here, and then I can rotate again, kind of like rotate like this, because I want them kind of maybe almost facing each other. I'm gonna bring this guy here like so. Yep. Okay, so now let's say this I can even use my spotlight for the third light, but really it's not necessary. So I'm just going to click on my light again. I'm going to choose on area light. I just want to use my area light for all of this thing. So I'm just going to click on rotate this. All right, and I'm going to bring this guy, I'm going to bring it back a little bit and all of that. Now I have 3 lights facing I've deactivated my spotlight already, so it's not working. So kind of like I have 3 lights over here. Now just bring this guy down a little bit more and bring this guy down a little bit more, and then let's change the color so that we know what light is doing what. So I'm going to change this to red. Okay, I'm going to change this to blue. Okay, the shade of blue, and I'm going to move this a little bit closer and bring it up a little bit, and then let's just give it pink, or let's say yellow, so that we can actually catch it properly. Now so we're going to just move in a little bit like this so that we can actually see what we're doing by the time we render. And then I'm just going to render. Okay, let's click on render, and boom, let's see. So now if you look at it properly, you can see that every side of this particular table is well read, it's well calculated. We have the yellow. You can see the yellow here because yellow is kind of like close. I can't really see the other colors, but I think I can see a little bit of red, but I can see the blue. So I'm just move this blue a little bit closer so that I can see it, and I'm going to move this guy to a little bit closer so that I can see it. I'm going to increase this blue to be more blue, and I'm going to increase this to be a little bit red. So then I'm going to zoom in again, and then I'm going to render. So let's see what we have now. And then yeah, so we have this. This is actually very nice. Okay, colors are well blended and everything is looking real good, and that is what I like about three-dimensional system. It gives your object a realistic feel and everything is just looking very nice. So now that is how you light something up, and then it gives you a kind of very good feel. Can you see the mistake I made now with my views? Okay, because I'm not using my views, I'm not just using this particular view. I'm bound to making mistakes like this, which is costly, which is very expensive. So always use your views, and it helps a great deal. So that's that. So that means I've made a lot of mistake here also. So just always use your views. Your views help you properly, because if as I've used my views, I will have seen it, and I've seen the mistakes that I've made and all of that. See me rotating these guys so that they can face the table properly. All right, so just going to come in properly now, and I kind of like render this. This is better, well lit and all of that. So now that's about that. Now let's create a background for this particular object, and let's try and see what it looks like. Now to create a background in Cinema 4D is very simple. Okay, now let's hide all of these guys, alright, so that it will not distract. I'm going to hide my table from the view. Can you see? By clicking that, you'll be able to hide them, hide everything. Okay, I don't want to see anything for now. And then what I'm going to do is just I'm going to create a cube. Alright, I'm going to make this cube very big. I'm going to make it big. Alright, so like this. So I'm going to add a fillet. Okay, just one stage of fillet, and then I'm going to make it editable. And then I'm going to choose my surfaces. Okay, click on my direct selection tool, and then start clicking on this surface, and then start deleting these surfaces because I really don't need them. Okay, what I want is a background, so that my light will be able to bounce around and all of that. So I can leave it this way. I don't need to, but sometimes you might actually need to delete these sides and the other sides. But in this particular example, I'm just going to leave everything this way so that I have my table. So now I'm going to go back to this and click my cube and drag my cube a little bit back. So my cube is serving as a background for this particular object I'm creating. So I'm just going to bring this guy here. I think I've deleted a part of the cube that I'm not supposed to delete. Okay, yeah, I think I did. So I'm just going to do this again. So alright, so let's bring our stuffs back. So now I'm just going to create. Now I can just drag this guy up because I want this guy touching the ground. So because light bounces, it's actually going to be a very nice design. If I do this way, I will create a new material, and then I'm just going to change the color to white. I'm going to go to reflectance, remove, add, GGX, and then reduce. That's all. Click on this and drop it here. So everything is white. Activate my light. Excuse me. Then I'm going to do this, and then boom, you can see everything is blasting. So now just going to, if I come like this now, like so, let's try and render this and see what we have. Just click on render. Because lights are bouncing, it's going to take more time. Alright, and then we're going to have something nicer. So you can see what we have now. Alright, which is actually better and than just having a black background. So now the light intensity is too much, so I'm just going to drop the light intensity down. All this light intensity, just drop them down. Just bring it down, bring it down. Alright, bring it down. I don't want to lose my light too much, so just going to bring my like 60 something. Yep. And then this guy, the yellow guy, I'm going to increase it a little bit also. Okay, dropping that light intensity. Dropping that light intensity helps you and actually make your design looks very nice. Now, remember what I said about shadows. Now, this particular yellow guy, let's try and activate shadow, and let's choose shadow map to let's choose soft for now, and let's render and see what we have. Shadows, they are very nice. Okay, they make your design and your renders look very realistic, and then they give it kind of like a feel, and it's actually very nice. You can see what we have here. You can see the shadows from this angle. Now it's kind of like showing that the light is coming from this area, and then the three-dimensional lighting system is really working. I have a blue here, I have a red here, and then kind of like the yellow feel and all, but it's not well lit. Okay, kind of like we need to actually increase a little bit of intensity, give a little bit of intensity to this guy over here, because he's the one blasting everything open. And we should move back a little and kind of tilt it so it's facing the table. and then yeah, so can move in now. So it's actually nice that I'm talking about light first, because it helps a lot, a great deal. So I'm gonna render again, and let's see what I have here. This is nicer and better than the first one. So now, so this is cool. Now my shadows are here. You can see it's looking very realistic and it's looking very very nice, which is nice. So shadows, they make your work look realistic. So it's again like the main source of light is coming from this angle, so it's actually giving this particular thing a lot. But you can see that this thing is not really reflecting the way we want it to. So you can actually come back to our reflectance and then just increase the intensity a little bit more. So just increase it like 22 or so, and then let's render it and see what it gives us. So kind of trying to render this to make this guy look good. Okay, you can see now it has turned to white, which literally means that it is reflecting, but it's not reflecting the way we want it to. So the lights are blowing it up. So I'm going to do this GGX. Yes, I'm going to increase the roughness so that it has a noise, and it's not just reflecting that much. So that would give it like kind of like a noise texture on the surface, which will not blow things up too much, and then will give us a kind of realistic feel. So I'm going to render out this, and that'll be the last time I'm going to render this table. I'm going to focus on some other things, and everything we're going to be doing now, we're going to be surrounded on, so it's kind of like thin stuffs on this table and all of that. So you can see what the roughness did to the table. It actually made the table a little bit grainy, and then you can just reduce it and adjust it to give you something of taste and something that is actually very very good. So now that's about that. Now let's just move on. Now I'm going to hide all of these guys on my light. Okay, I'll still bring them back, but so that I'll be able to focus on this particular guy, I'm going to just hide them. I'm going to hide this particular cube also. So, and then I'm going to focus on my table. So I have one light left that I've now hidden. So I've done that. So now let's focus on the table. Now focusing on this table, we want to do some other stuffs. Okay, now remember we've talked about lighting systems, talk about things. So we're going to do some other things. We're going to create some other tools, use some other tools, and then all of that, maybe place them on this table and then light them up again. We talked about a three-dimensional lighting system. That's how you use them. You can take your light back. You don't have to be that close. We've not talked about the IES lights. The IES lights are they're programmable lights. They're lights that has textures. They're lights that has their own profile. All right. So we'll talk about that next class, but because I'm just trying to cover everything that I've taught you guys here. And that's that about that. Now you've been able to use the bowl will actually help you in creating a lot of things. You know that already. And then there's this. I don't think there's anything here that I'm supposed to cover that I've not covered in class. I'm just using this as a kind of like a revision. I don't know what else I'm supposed to talk about here. Okay, let's talk about. Okay, fine. I'm just going to do a little bit of animation, and then at the same time, I'm going to. What can I do next? I actually don't know. So let me just check if there's anything that you guys will need. Okay, let me just see. All right, I've taught you how to use the bend tool, and you guys are using it very well, and that's actually very nice. The only thing I should talk about is the camera systems and maybe the light systems and everything. But this is a very general revision, and you guys know how to do these things already. So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to give you a little bit of time to watch this. I'm going to stop this tutorial here. I'm not going to talk about any other thing anymore. Watch this, get back to me. If you can get back to me tonight, you understand, let me know, and then I will, and tell me where you don't know, as a group, and I'll be able to touch them, and then I'll be able to sort it out. So that's that about that. Alright, see you guys I don't know when, but I'll see you guys soon. So whatever questions you have, if there's anything you don't know how to create, just pen them down so that I can treat them in this tutorial, and I won't just have to be talking and trying to cover everything else. All right, thank you.